Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very special, I would say, Q&A with two amazing ladies, the film team Els van Driel and Eefje Blankenvoort. And we're going to talk today about ShadowGame. ShadowGame is a documentary of 1.5 hours. It has a few shorts and it has a game. And how did they get to make this film? Well, I know that they first went to Lesbos and made films over there, and there they saw all kinds of people, of course, and encountered with people, and um, that made them think some years ago. I think it was to pick up a new idea called the start of ShadowGame. So, ladies, welcome. How did you start with this project? What was the initial idea?
Well, it was indeed in 2017 when we were in Lesbos and we saw the consequences of the EU-Turkey deal. And we encountered a boy in the harbor of Mytilene who was totally alone, and he was wondering where he was. He was a boy from Gambia. He was on his way to his father in Spain. He didn't know where he was. He knew I am on an island, I'm in Europe, but nobody's helping me. Nobody's telling me where to go. And I'm stuck in a camp called Moria, uh, between all kind of adults, and it's very unsafe there. So we thought, okay, this is really strange. I mean, he's a minor. He was 15 years old. He was registered as an adult, amongst all the adults in the camp. So we thought, okay, this is a probably a bigger problem if he's one of them.
Yeah.
So we started researching and we found out there's a lot of kids traveling alone. Of course, we knew that already, but they are also not helped and protected the way they should be as minors.
Yeah. So that was the start of Shadow Game, in which we wanted to film the experience of young refugees, of minors coming alone to Europe in search of protection. Um, and yeah, we started in Greece, but we followed the paths of many young people all across Europe.
But how was that process then? Because people come and go. How did you? I mean, you follow quite a few of the miners, so to speak. And how did you set up the research? How did you get the finance? How did that go? By the way, I've got to say, I always forget it. I'm the artistic director of Movies That Matter, and yeah, I always forget. But go ahead. Otherwise, people think, who's that woman talking?
Well, that's not a minor detail because you are the director of Movies That Matter, and we just premiered at Movies That Matter in the Netherlands, which was great, really amazing. But yeah, how did it start? Well, so we had this idea, and then of course you write a plan, a film plan, but then you have to go and do it and do the research. And we didn't know if we could make the film because of course it's a very complicated and very delicate subject. You know, minors, children traveling alone through Europe. But we just went to these different places, border towns, border regions, where we knew a lot of refugees are stuck because the borders have been closing down ever since 2015.
Yeah.
So, for example, we went to Ventimiglia, which is in Italy, in the border with France, near to Cannes. People know it from the Cannes Film Festival. It's a beautiful place where a lot of people go on holiday.
Yeah.
But what I think a lot of people don't know is that it's really one of these places where refugees get stuck on the French or Italian French border. And so we just went there to see what the situation was, to see if we could talk to children that were on the move alone. And we did find quite a lot of them living under a bridge that people cross when they go on holiday. But under that bridge, there's a lot of people stuck. And one of them was Faiz from Sudan. He was 17 at the time, and we just talked to him, and we hung out. We played some football and volleyball, and we talked about where he came from and what his ambitions and dreams were. And yeah, when we felt like he actually wants to participate in the film, we would explain. Then we would call our cameraman Ton Peters to join us, and we would film for a few days.
Ah,
And
okay.
we kept in touch with all these young people that we encountered on all these different places. So yeah, for the last 3 years we have been working like this, and yeah, going to all these different border regions in Europe.
Wow. And what made you decide, because you will see it in the film, and actually in this Q&A at certain moments you will show a little bit also of the film. But then when they really cross the border, what they call the game, as we understand, then Tom Peters is gone, you're gone, and then they're on their own and they film, right? How did that work out? How did that go?
Well, we didn't know that, of course, but we encountered a very nice brother couple, Jano and Sheru, who got from Syria all the way to where we encountered them in Bosnia-Herzegovina on the Balkan route. And we were asking their permission to film, and then Jano said, well, okay, you're gonna film me. Well, I have been filming since Turkey already. So he showed us the clips of what he had been filming already. And that was amazing footage. I mean, he documented his own journey, or their own journey as brothers, because he thought it was so bizarre that they had to walk all the way, and that they were encountering all this violence and aggressive border guards, and also all these mountains they had to cross, and working together with a smuggler, of course, and just to find protection in Europe. So he showed us the footage, and we included it in the film. It was very nice to work together with the kids like that. So we can show you a clip, maybe.
Yeah, love to see some of that.
وسوريا كمان حرب ازدادت وصار مدينتي مشاكل وحروب وهيك، قلت بطلع عند أخوي ونطلع. روح يا شيخ روح. ومشينا طلعنا من تركيا ليونان لألبانيا لمونتينيغرو. أوه عضل رجليك. أنا كمان مثلك والله، ركض، لا في مي لا في أكل، بتنا طلع. هاد حال السوريين على العيشة. عليكم كمان آدمي. كان طريق طويل وصعب. طلعنا من بوسنا لسلوفينيا ماشي قطع مكواكب، وصلنا على سلوفينيا تاخد 16 يوم. نمشي بالثلج نعبر جبال وأنهار، كان في حيوانات برية دببة وذئاب.
Yes, I mean, you can see its own footage, and then you see the switch to the footage of Tom Peters from our cameraman. So what we did with him was like going to the borders and discover the area, you know, like where are you going, where are you going to cross, what are you doing? So they were like guides to us, explaining how their journey went.
And how did that work with a real? I mean, Tom Peters is an extremely good cameraman. To work to how you combine the two styles. How did that work out for you in the editing actually?
Well, in the end, we decided it can be eclectic and fragmented, because the journeys are fragmented.
Yeah.
These are all these sort of trajectories they have to go through, and sometimes they're stopped and they're pushed back. It's never a linear story for them. So we wanted to make a mosaic story of all these different kids and make it into one universal story, and at the same time sort of embrace the idea of this fragmentation, because it is not a linear story from A to B, but it's like A back to A, back to A, back to A, then to B, and then further on. And so also to use their own material and our footage, and also other footage that we got from TikTok, for example, because they also put their materials on social media. We thought it was in their style, you know, and we really wanted to film this story from their perspective. And it's all part of that journey.
Yeah, because also in the beginning, I remember when you see the first, which people hopefully will see, it feels nearly like a feature film, a fiction film, and then it changed. So in the beginning, you get a sort of strangely romantic idea, where you know this is a really harsh reality, and then you not really play with me as the audience, but in a way you do. But that's also for you to say, like, sometimes it is nice, and then you slam me in the face actually as a spectator. And then you decided to make also short, right? You have different formats. It's not like a traditionally 1.5 hour documentary. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, well, we thought, okay, we're going to concentrate on their journey now. This is the moment where we start off. So we're not going to look back on their stories in the countries of war where they came from. We're going to concentrate on the moment. So they're in a survival mode going from A to B, looking for protection. We're going to follow that. And then we thought, okay, but they're going to arrive somehow. I mean, there's no way back. So they're going to arrive somewhere in Western Europe. We knew that. And so we decided, okay, but the story doesn't end with this journey. They are going to go into the European asylum systems. They have to integrate. They have to find their way. They have to get their families maybe over if it's possible. So we started also from that moment following the boys whenever they arrived. So we make 4 characters out of the film we follow during a longer term of period. For instance, the 2 brothers, Jano and Giroux, that you saw already in the clip, they have arrived in the Netherlands, and we started following them in their procedure here. And it was a really flabbergasting experience because one of them is 18 when they arrive, so he's an adult.
An adult.
So to speak. And the other one is 16, so he comes in the system of child protection in the Netherlands, which is quite good actually. So he gets to go to school. He has this whole system around him, and then the older boy, Jano, he arrives as an adult, and he is stuck somewhere in an asylum center between adults, not with his brother, living separately, hours away from each other. And he's having a really, really hard time because, I mean, he's 18. What is he? He's a child. Is he an adult? I mean, he needs his brother, right? You would say.
Yeah, I guess so.
We followed this whole separation, and also we see in the film that his smaller brother, he gets his childhood back. He becomes a child again after all these years of child labor in Turkey. Now he finally gets to go to school, and Jano, he gets depressed and he has nothing to do. There's no integration course. Also due to Corona, there's a lack of facilities. There's no procedure. It's lethargy all over.
Like when you're 18, it's like,
you find it out yourself, and so he is haunted by the dreams of his game, his journey. And that was really hard to see. And that's something that we want to address with the short docs. Okay, how are the European systems working for these kids?
And did you then, this was in the Netherlands, but did you also follow in other countries when kids arrived? It could have maybe France, Germany, Belgium, England.
Yes, absolutely. So we have one character from the main film, Durab, from Pakistan. He was 16 when he arrived in Slovenia, Ljubljana. And we followed him also for about 1.5 years. And his film premiered also at Movies That Matter called Durab's Labyrinth. And Durab, he sort of slides into this shadow world of smuggling. We don't know exactly if he was blackmailed into it, if he's a perpetrator, so to say, or a victim. But he starts smuggling people himself. And it's a really dark story of what also can happen. When children like him are on the move, unprotected for 2.5 years, they are very vulnerable to also this kind of exploitation and these sort of.
It's a devastating story. Yeah, and to put that on out in the open, is that dangerous for him?
Well, we keep it in the middle where he is exactly, and we also don't really know where's the truth. And the film is about that he's balancing in, am I telling the truth or not? Can he really tell the truth, or is he under a lot of pressure? We don't know. What we do know is that a lot of people, a lot of kids, a lot of minors who travel alone are not protected in Europe, and a lot of kids go missing into the system, or are missing because they are being exploited, either for example in prostitution or in these kind of trafficking situations. So I think his story is also exemplary of the dire situation a lot of children are in Europe.
Yeah, I think that was also incredible in the film, that you see the other kids who ring home very quite often. So there is still a connection, and because at a certain point I was like, but where do they live of or something? But then you get a connection to home, you understand, and with him you feel he's completely on his own. And then I'd like to jump maybe to what you did with the game itself, what you're developing now. How's the contact now? Are you still in contact with them now, or?
With the kids, you mean? All the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still in contact with all of them. mostly on a daily basis almost.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean they're still surviving. So once they arrive, their journey is not ended. So they're still very much worried about their families, and it's getting harder and harder in Europe to get your families over, to get family reunification, which is a children's right. I mean, if you're a child, you should be reunited with your parents, and almost all European countries are violating that right. And also in the Netherlands, it's becoming harder and harder. So they're very much worried. That really gives an obstacle to their integration, because if you're worried about your parents, you're not able to really jump into the new language and the new situation.
Absolutely. No, that's sort of impossible. And
Yeah.
and no, sorry, you want to say
No,
something?
so that's one of the reasons that we're still in contact with them, and also trying to help where we can to connect them to the right lawyers or the right people with influence to help them.
Yeah, because I'd like to jump to that for a little bit. It's like the film has been shown in Geneva, as we call it. It had a pre-premiere, also at the Human Rights Film Festival, and at Moves That Matter, a world premiere. I know there were politicians from the European Parliament, even as I recall. So, how? I mean, if you see the film, you're like, this is beyond what should be done. There's really something going wrong in this system. But how do they react when they see the film?
Well,
From the
fortunately, most people that saw it react the same way as you do. Is this possible? Is this happening in Europe, in our Europe? So a lot of people are shocked. Even people who work with these children, for example, from the immigration services here in the Netherlands, or the schools where they arrive and they are being taught. People say, we know the stories, but we don't really know them. We didn't know it was this harsh. So, I mean, our plan is to bring this story out there, to show it to as many people as possible, but definitely also politicians, of course, in the Netherlands, but definitely also in Europe.
Yeah, that's what you
And
should.
so what we did is we drew a manifesto together with the boys. We say there are 4 points that really should improve now, and it's easy to improve it. I mean, there are solutions to it. And one of it is, of course, violence has to stop at our borders against children, against refugees. It has to stop. The other thing is that there should be safe passages for children to arrive to Western European countries to get protection, not to have this journey being made. And for instance, we know that Greece and Italy are fully booked. I mean, there's too many refugees arriving there. The systems are completely overloaded, and people will continue their journey for that reason. And then they have this very, very harsh journey, which traumatizes them. And I mean,
that's another thing.
What are we solving with this?
Well, that's the thing, right? If you do it this way, like, what are you solving in the end? Because the traumas are like tremendous, of course.
Yeah.
But then I recall a few years ago, you were pitching at the International Documentary Film Festival Amsterdam at IDVA, and you were pitching the whole project. So the film, the shorts, but also the game. And as I recall it, there was quite some opposition that or people were a little bit shocked that you would make a game on a computer game, so to speak. I was not one of them for sure, because I thought it was really, really good, and it's another angle on harsh reality. But can you explain how is that now, or where are you in that process of the computer game?
So we made a prototype, actually. That's where we are at now. And it's really like an adventure game. And I guess that's what shocked people from the documentary world, because it's a bit traditional. And I guess that people who make documentaries can make documentaries about horrible subjects, but a game is a no-go way of doing it. I don't know. Whereas in the game industry, people were really shocked also by this story, and they were saying, well, we need to make a good game out of this because it can reach young audiences. A documentary like ours, of course, we hope through education we can also reach the peers of these youngsters, but a game is a whole new way to address this issue. And our idea is really not to make a serious game, what is done a lot, but actually you're sort of force-fed information. And we want to make a real proper adventure game that slowly but surely explains the situation of what is going on in Europe. And I mean, it's a very, of course, ethically, and it's a balance. But we made a prototype, and the main character is based on Mohammed from the film. He's 14 and from Syria. And we played it with him, and he really loved it, because he said, this is my experience, and this is me. And we actually sort of fictionalized it. So we said, okay, let's give the character a different name. So we came up with Sami, and Mohammed was saying, no, it's me. I want him to have my name. So now we're changing the character's name to Mohammed, because it really identifies with him. But it's still in development, so we need more funding. So maybe
okay, good to know. They need more funding for that game. Very good to know. And is it for Mohammed? You felt like a recognition on another level. To make a documentary is one, but to do it in a more, if you could say, playful way, and he could maybe, once they're living in a European country, they can play it amongst their friends or something, or their new friends or something like that. Would it work on that level as well, or is it just you thought like, we have to do this?
No, he felt like when we started filming, he already said, I am in a film. He didn't believe that he was actually experiencing something he has seen in films before. Yeah. That was when we met him in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And then when we showed the prototype of the game, he said, well, this is cool. I mean, I'm now, I made it. I'm really proud that I made it. I can't believe I made it. So maybe it's good to show you a short clip of Mohammed.
Yeah, great.
Where he's explaining.
Yeah, you get curious for him now. Perfect. He's such a sweetheart.
وامشي واروح واجي يعني، واشيل اكل وخيمه يعني، حتى لو قاتل اغسل من الغصون تفوت بعيننا يعني، مو ما شايف الشيء. امشي بهاي الغابات هاي الصعبه والاشجار واطلع انا اتسلق جبال. صح يعني هي مو يعني انا لو كنت اتفرج على الافلام كنا نقول يعني معقوله هي شيء، طلعت حقيقيه يعني، انا حتى عشتها يعني.
A short clip from Mohammed, who really was, as El said, like experienced it like a film, and that's also what we try to do in the game, to really take his experience and show it. And when he was playing it, he's like, everybody should play this, because this is what I experienced.
Wow.
This craziness, the situation, it really looks like the camp I was in, or camp. It was actually a bunch of tents in the snow in the middle of nowhere in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and he was surviving there as a 14-year-old. He was going through minefields, the old minefields from the Balkan Wars. He has to go through.
You saw that one scene that was...
Yeah, I mean, he's in there, and he had to walk for 14 or 15 days to go all the way through Croatia, through Slovenia, to reach the Italian border. And he was pushed back so many times. And that reality for him, that it's captured in a film, but also that it's captured in a game and people can experience his reality, it was really important for him to share that with others.
And then there are very cynical people and harsh people who say, but which parents are putting their kids in such a danger to let them go on their own, and why didn't they go as a family, or why didn't they keep them in another safe area or something? I mean, that's a cynical question, I suppose, with some people who we know the more right-wing policy within Europe is far more obviously on that note. So what would be the reaction then?
Well, of course, people will not put their children in danger. They know about the dangers. There's not another option. I mean, if you're living in Afghanistan, there's war and there's a civil war, and your child, I mean, boys are very vulnerable for recruitment. So either they're gonna die for the government army or for the Taliban or another extremist group. So if you want to put your child in safety, you have to say, go away. You cannot stay in this country. You have to leave. And it's the same for Hamoudi, for Mohammed, the boy you saw in Syria. He will be recruited by the army. He's in age and he doesn't want to fight. He wants a future as a doctor. He wants to
become a doctor, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also why they don't travel with the family. It's very expensive to flee. Actually, it's bizarre, but it's expensive to become a refugee because you need at least 10 to 15,000 euros to pay for this journey, this horrible, dangerous journey. So it's almost impossible for a whole family to pay for this. Moreover, an older mother or a father with a disability, that's often the case, they cannot make this journey, or younger brothers and sisters. We've met families who do it, who try to do it, but you don't even want to go into that hardship. It is so difficult. So they do choose, okay, then we have to make a choice. Then the strong boys go and they try to make it to save themselves sometimes, and sometimes with the idea to also bring the rest of the family maybe later. And I think maybe it's a good moment to show a clip of Fuad from Afghanistan 15, who I think really explains well why they come, why they go, why they don't feel.
I think it's a very good moment because, yeah.
Do or die. This is the message. Do or die. If it is war, then you have to save yourself. You have to save yourself. And I don't have the words to describe the condition which is in Afghanistan. The government and the Taliban, they will clash with each other in a week 2-3 times, and you will be killed by them. Okay, we want to get a peaceful life in an area where a person cannot come out in the dark, cannot get the education, cannot get the school, cannot go to school, cannot go to academy, where a person doesn't have any peace. When you spend the time there, you are asking for me. Will you spend the time there in an area where you will not have peace, where you will not be able to go to doctor, where you will not be able to go to school? Will you spend a life there? You will not spend a life there.
Yeah, extremely. Yeah, and extremely powerful. But I know for definite that people who are living in the safe haven where we are living, wondering like, why would I, my beloved 15-year-old, why would I send him away? But that's a very clear answer. And so what is the idea now? You have the film, it's going out, you will show it to as many people as possible, and do you have another goal, like more political goal with it as well? Are you, what's your directions? I know you're pretty political, so I just was wondering.
We've drawn this manifesto, which is on change.org, and you can also find it through our website, shadowgame.eu. And we call everybody who has seen the film to share it. And it is like the voice of the youngsters themselves, from the boys from the film. So eventually we are going to do a European tour as well with the film. We have impact partners in countries on the Balkan, but also in Western Europe, who are going to show it in civil society, in education, in UN institutions, but also in Brussels at the European Parliament. So we really want to have an impact, and we're here in the Netherlands also in very narrow contact with policymakers who are working with these kids. So we want to try to have as much impact as we can with this film, and to really improve the situation of children at our borders. So yeah, whenever they have seen the film, please share the manifesto. And on World Refugees Day, so that's 20 June 2022, next year, our aim is to have one of our protagonists inside the European Parliament to address and to give the manifesto to the European Commission there.
Yeah, so to whoever is watching this and you have contacts in Europe, please help us out. I mean, we're open for any kind of cooperation to bring these kids into the places where their voices are heard.
Yeah.
Please
Well,
help us
that's
out.
sorry.
Please help us out with doing that.
I think they should, and I mean, I know that. I think, of course, what you did with I think is amazing. You have the politics, but you know, the three of us were all filmmakers, so you made also an amazing film, a film on the level of cinematography, on the level of soundscape, on the level of mixing the different styles in order to get that one message across. But next to that, it wasn't a reportage or something. You did something completely different, and that's already acknowledged in Geneva, where you won the big prize, winning from IYY and others, which is quite impressive. I think you won the Students Award there. Is
Jury, yeah.
And the Geneva Grand Jury Award. Yeah.
these two you won at Movies That Matter. You won the Dutch Movies Matter Award, and it was also a strong competition, and that helps, I suppose. But what helps the best and the most is everybody watching should go to www.shadowgame.eu, and what you can watch the shorts. There will be moments you can watch the long film, and one day can play the game and spread the word around.
Absolutely.
Did I miss out something for the information you thought like it's really important to be said, or did we covered it all, you guess?
I think one last thing I would add is also on the website you can see what you can do, because a lot of people who hear about these problems in Europe, about the refugee issue, they say, but you know, it's far from my own world. I can't do anything. It's up to the politicians. But there's so many things you can do in different levels in your own community. You can go and volunteer. You can donate to a good cause, and you can give your voice and sign our manifesto. So there are things to do. Please do something. This is our Europe.
Very good, very cool. We from Movies That Matter support you all the way through. You're two amazing women, two amazing filmmakers, and all the best. And I know this will be a very, very, very important film. Thank you so much, Elsje and Eve.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Markje.
Eve and Elsje. What did I say? Eve and Els.
Well,
Markje,
actually,
Eve.
it's
Doesn't
fine.
matter.
Thank you so much. You're the best.